judge ruling former Vice President Mike Pence must testify before a grand jury investigating Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Until now, Pence claimed executive privilege protects him from having to talk. Let's discuss it here on the show. Oma Seddiq, politics reporter from Insider, up late with me tonight on the Final Five to talk about it. Oma, welcome back to the show. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's kind of hard to forget, or easy to forget. We've focused so much on what could happen out of Manhattan with the former president that there are two probes that a special counsel is looking into right now. This one focusing on what Donald Trump may or may not have done leading up to the 2020 election and beyond.
Right, yes. I mean, and today we learned a significant development in that investigation, which is that a federal judge has ordered former Vice President Mike Pence to testify before this federal grand jury, looking at Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results, as well as his role in the January 6th Capitol riot. And so what this order showed is that it was in two parts. So U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith had issued the subpoena for Pence's testimony and documents related to this investigation back in February. Pence at the time had sought to challenge this by invoking this claim of the Constitution's speech or debate clause, meaning that he, as president of the Senate on January 6th, presiding over this joint session of Congress, which met to certify the 2020 election results, he is essentially shielded from providing testimony as it relates to his work as president of the Senate on that day. And so the judge actually, partially accepted this argument, we learned today, and said that Pence can refuse to answer questions as it relates to his role on January 6th. But, prosecutors can get testimony from Pence now as it relates to his conversations with Trump in the lead up to January 6th. And as we know, Trump and his allies had sought to pressure Pence to throw out electoral college votes on January 6th in states that then President-elect Joe Biden had won. Ultimately, we know Pence did not abide by these wishes.
Right.
He said he had no constitutional authority to do so, and so he refused that. But prosecutors can now potentially get some revealing information about what those conversations were between him and Trump, private conversations, maybe one-on-one meetings about these efforts to overturn the results in the lead up to January 6th.
And it wasn't just Mike Pence, because you had the likes of former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who had come out and said, we are protected by executive privilege, and it looks like systematically every one of those claims has effectively been struck down.
Yes, exactly. I mean, separately, Trump has been trying to battle this out in court for a long time now by invoking claims of executive privilege, which is essentially the president's right to keep certain communications confidential. But in court, that has not held up. You know, we've seen judges routinely dismiss Trump's claims of executive privilege. The judge dismissed that in this order again, because Trump had also sought to block Pence from testifying before this federal grand jury. And so likewise, as you mentioned, earlier this month, he invoked claims of executive privilege to prevent former officials like Mark Meadows and a handful of other former officials in his administration from providing further testimony to this grand jury, and a federal judge ruled against that too, requiring them to testify before this grand jury.
The former vice president has said the idea of getting a subpoena to go before the special counsel would be unconstitutional. Clearly, this legal fight isn't over. Is this something that could make it to the Supreme Court, or is this ruling the final say?
I mean, we can't say it's the final say. There's definitely a possibility that this could still be challenged from here. I mean, the former Vice President Mike Pence tonight, speaking with Newsbacks just a little while ago, he actually said he was pleased with the judge's order, but he is still going to review it further. So that might leave an opening for him to still, appeal him from testifying, appeal that ruling. And so, yeah, it could very well, if it lands in an appellate court, I legal experts say it's unlikely that another judge might rule differently. So, but it could still happen, and we could still see this being fought in the courts before Vice President Mike Pence has to testify before this grand jury.
Oma Seddiq writing about this for Insider. You can check it out online. Good to see you again. Obviously, something that is not the last time we'll be discussing this is the investigations, not just the January 6th investigation, but Jack Smith's also handling the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation. So this continues. Good to see you again, Oma. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And the Final Five is back after this.
Start again.